Okay, class. So yesterday we started working on properties, math properties of multiplication, and we talked about commutative. We talked about the associative as well as the identity. All right. So we're going to watch a short video that kind of reminds us of some of it. Today we're going to work on the distributive property as well as the zero property. Pay close attention as you watch to remind yourself.
Commutative, associative, distributive, all three. Math properties, yeah. Vocab, let's go. The first property is commutative. Your terms can move when you're the one computing them. If you reorder the terms when multiplying and adding, you get the same answer cause the order doesn't matter. 3 plus 5, written a different way, is 5 plus 3, they both equal 8. A plus B equals B plus A, and J times C equals C times J. Addition is not the only operation that works. We can also use multiplication, but this rule it doesn't work with subtraction or division. With subtraction or division, stick with the order given. If you need a mnemonic, think about the root. Commutative comes from the word commute, yeah. The commutative properties, the one that allows us to write the numbers down, then move the numbers round. A commutative property in any order, you can add and multiply. Associative, you could group the terms any way you like. And now the last one, when you multiply a sum, you gotta break it up. That's distributive property, it's gotta be. Commutative, associative, distributive, all three. Math properties, it's what you need. It's what you need. It's what you need. Associative property means when you compute several numbers, you can put them into groups. For example, 2 plus 5 plus 3, add parentheses so you can see. Place 2 plus 5 in parentheses and then add 3 at the end. Now let's begin. 2 plus 5 equals 7, and when we add 3 plus 7, the sum is 10. If we bracket the two numbers at the end, the answer's still 10. If we do it again with multiplication, it works the same way, but division and subtraction, they're not, they can't hang. Commutative property in any order, you can add and multiply. Associative, you could group the terms any way you like. And now the last one, when you multiply a sum, you gotta break it up. That's distributive property, it's gotta be. Commutative, associative, distributive, all three. Math properties, it's what you need. It's what you need. It's what you need. This property is distributive, and when you can use it, it's limited. Yeah. When you multiply a sum, you can multiply each adding and then add the products up. Take the problem, 2 times 5 plus 3, and the 5 plus 3's in parentheses. You can multiply the 2 times the 5, and then multiply the 2 by the 3. Alright, you get 10 plus 6, and that's 16. We distributed the 2 here. See what I mean? Here's a nice hint to make it easy to remember. To distribute means to give it to each member. Just remember, multiply each number in the bracket by the number outside. Add them up, then you have it. 8 times B plus C equals 8 times B plus A times C. See?
Quick reminder of the commutative as well as the associative, and then we're going to focus on distributive today. That being said, I'm going to present my entire screen. And place this in present mode. All right, so for distributive property, so our next is distributive property, and it involves both addition and multiplication as well. So what is the base word of distributive? Distribute. What does that mean? So I'm going to give you a hint by showing you the word in a sentence. Grandma distributed gifts to each of her grandchildren. So what did she do? She shared them out. All right. So here's grandma, and she gave gifts to each of her grandchildren. So these are grandchildren from one family and grandchildren from another family. So the distributive property works in a similar way. So let's show how grandma distributed the gifts as an equation, as a math equation. So here she is with her grandchildren. How many gifts did grandma distribute to each grandchild? She gave them 2. Look at that, 2 gifts. 2, 2, 2, 2, 2. How many grandchildren are in her daughter's family? She has 2 children in her daughter's family. And how about her son's family? She has 3. All right. So these 2 are from one family, her daughters, and those are from her son's family, and they have 3. So how does this work? In an equation, we've got each person gets 2, and then we have 2 plus 3. All right. So the 2 on the outside represents the number of gifts that she distributed to each grandchild. The first 2 represents the number of children in her daughter's family here. And the 3 represents the number of children in her son's family. All right, so let's go ahead and solve this equation. First, a number that's written beside the parentheses, we need to multiply. So if you just see a number by itself and it's beside a parenthesis, this is a parenthesis right here. It means that we need to multiply that number. All right. So we're going to multiply that number by the numbers in or within the parentheses. There are 2 ways to go about this. We can go ahead and add up the numbers first in the parentheses, like we've done here, which will give us 5. And then we can go ahead and multiply the 2 by 5, and that will give us 10. That's one way we can do it. Another way we can do it is showing that distributive property, all right? So multiplying each of the numbers within the parentheses by the number outside of the parentheses, all right? And then adding right after. We do our 2 times 2, which is 4. And then 2 times 3, which is 6. And then we'll go ahead and add them together because there's a plus sign in the middle. And that will give us 10. So 2 ways we can go about that. Either go ahead and add up first before multiplying on the outside, or multiplying by each of them and then adding up to give us our answer. All right, it's important to understand the distributive property because this is something you're going to use a whole lot as you go up in higher grades. Understanding the distributive property would allow you to solve more complex equations. All right. So we've got to remember to distribute the number outside the parentheses to each number inside the parentheses by multiplying them. So let's go ahead and try out solving this equation. We've got 5, and then parentheses within the parentheses, we've got 4 plus 6. And so first of all, we're going to multiply 5 by 4, and then multiply 5 by 6. And because we have a plus sign in the middle, we're going to add those 2 numbers. And so that would give us 20 times 30, and altogether we end up with 50. All right, notice how, so this is grandma on the outside, and she's distributing her gifts, all right, with each of the numbers. Here we've got another equation. So grandma being 6, first, the number of children in the first family, 3, the number of children in the other family, 4. So we've got 6 times 3, 18, and then 6 times 4, 24, and we're going to add those together because we've got a plus sign in here, right? And then when we add them together, that would give us 42. Again, we're distributing this 6 to the numbers inside the parentheses. All right, so here's Grandma distributing her gifts again. So we got 2, 9, 5, right? So we're going to distribute 2 to the 9 and 2 to the 5. So we have 2 times 9, 18, and 2 times 5, 10. Add those two together because that's the sign we have within the parentheses, and that would give us 28. Here's another problem to solve. If you would like to solve this problem, can you please unmute yourself and then share with the class your strategy? Remember that you're distributing the 3 to the numbers within the parentheses. Would we have a class volunteer who would like to solve this problem?
So 3 times 4 is 12.
Okay.
And then 3 times 8 is 24.
All right.
And then if I add those two together, it'll be 36.
Thank you very much. Thank you for sharing. Okay. Would we have another class volunteer who would like to try out this problem?
I would.
All right, go ahead.
So first you multiply 6 times 5, which will equal 30. Then you multiply 6 times 6, which will be 36.
So 36
And
there, and then 30 there.
If you cut the 36 in half and then add the 30s, it'll be 60. Then add the 6, and it's 66.
Thank you. Quite a strategy. Love it. Thank you very much. Thank you, class volunteers. Anybody willing to give this one a try?
I will.
All right, go ahead.
Okay, so I did 9 times 4, which equals 36. And I did 9 times 8, which equals 72.
All right.
And then I added it for it to get 108.
That's right, because if you add the 6 to the 2, it'll give you 8. And then the 3 to the 7 will give me 10. Beautiful. Thank you very much, class volunteers. All right, so that's it for the distributive. All right, so you notice the number outside the parentheses is distributing itself to the numbers inside the parentheses. All right. All right, so here is our final property. So we've gone through 4, and this is the 5th, and this is the final property. It's called the zero property of multiplication. And guess what? It is the easiest property of all of them. Can you guess which number it involves? Can anybody guess? What number do you think it involves?
Zero.
Exactly. Zero. That's correct.
0.
Thank you. So it does involve the zero property. When you multiply any number by 0, what is the product? 0. Any number you multiply by 0 is 0. That's why it's the easiest. So 2 times 0 is 0. 5 times 0, 0. 20 times 0, if you guess 0, you are correct. So here we are. When you multiply 0 with any number, the product is always 0. All right, so now we're going to show the zero property of multiplication using the number 25. Here it is. 25 times 0 is 0. Show the zero property of multiplication using the number 465. 465 times 0 equals 0. Remember, because it's the zero property, that's why we're multiplying by 0. And any number we multiply by 0 will give us 0. Show the zero property of multiplication using the number 1 million. Would anybody like to volunteer for this one?
Me.
Cameron,
Me.
And what's the answer?
0.
zero.
0. All right. 1 million times 0 equals 0. All right. And so I'm going to stop sharing right there. So our job today and what we learned is how to identify, just identifying and being able to use the different properties of multiplication. We've gone over already the commutative, the identity, the associative, the distributive, as well as the zero properties of multiplication. All right.